And welcome back to the Christmas series, and today is January 3rd. I've been seeing articles and videos pop up about how Gen Z is lacking in just about, well, everything. It seems like they're inept in social skills, technological acumen, and a solid work ethic. They dominate TikTok and other social media platforms with their continual whining and bitching and just have nothing to contribute to society whatsoever. I mean, you kind of have to wonder what the hell is going on with the parents. I mean, are they aware, unaware, or just apathetic? It seems like there's something wrong with them. I mean, they have this spoiled and entitled outlook of the world and feel like the world should just bow to their dictates and damn them if they don't. They seem to have a perverse enjoyment of shaming everything and everyone, and frankly, even if you acquiesce, they'll still complain, because the world doesn't seem enough. Well, where have we heard that before? The millennials aren't any better. I think we laid the foundation for the spoiled brat that came afterwards. I like to think we're a bit more reasonable, but honestly, I can't say it with a straight face. I mean, after all, the 2010s was a period where people were just learning their way through the world, and they did it in the most condescending manner possible. I mean, remember the hipster? I mean, what we're seeing now is a twisted descendant of them, and boy, is it unpleasant. And our parents, the baby boomers, were the degenerates of their day, and they seem to have passed that on to us. Who have passed it on to the Gen Zers, who are just making things weird all around. I have a theory, well, more like a thought that isn't entirely well developed about all this. See, growing up, my parents weren't hesitant to resort to corporal punishment. The kids in my neighborhood were subjected to the same thing. And at that time, as a kid, you think this was the worst thing possible. Looking back now, some would say it was abuse. But I turned out okay. I haven't spent most of my life in jail, having a record, or decided to switch genders just for kicks. I'm a fairly normal and boring kind of guy. And from my interactions with others of my generation, we pretty much know the importance of having a work ethic. I mean, say what you will about those kooky crass people of the 2010s with their boutique soaps and bars, at least they understand the importance of putting in long hours to make their venture work. Not that corporal punishment will instill a work ethic, but it put the fear of God in you as a child that you never want to stray from the path lest your ass be beaten black and blue. I mean, there was also a more casual atmosphere in the 20th century. Things were more easygoing. I mean, sure, there were elements that weren't ideal, but tragedies engender humor. And people had a sense of humor back then as opposed to now, where every little thing is scrutinized and nothing is funny. And the stuff that is funny isn't objectively funny. It's just preaching, and who wants to be preached at? They make it a point to emphasize to the audience who they are. Hey, I'm non-binary. Hey, I'm an oppressed minority. Hey, I'm this and that. God, it never gets old. I mean, what's bizarre is that nowadays people don't have a work ethic, but they have a strong sense of justice. But that indignation is misplaced. The advocates of justice from the 20th century shared the same indignations, but they never did it on the level of today's advocates. And frankly, if they did follow the same playbook, civil rights, would never have been achieved. I mean, I wonder if things can ever go back to the way they were, because there is a huge divide. Can there be a fix? Can they learn from the past? Who's to say? I mean, you watch any movie or TV show from the 20th century, you obviously can see a difference. The sensibilities, worries, and humor seem alien to us, but for those who grew up in that time period, there's an itch of familiarity to them. Those who've never experienced them will just glare with glassy eyes as if rendered into a state of confusion. It's sort of like being dropped in a country where the culture is the antipode of your own. What is disheartening is to consider that the younger generation look at the achievements and faults of our past and say there's no value to them, but only to be shunned. And as the famous saying goes, those who don't know their history are bound to repeat them. If we cancel everything, focus on something that is idiotic and useless, and not learn from the evils of the past, then surely we will find ourselves rehearsing these horrid ideas into something brave and progressive. Who's to say the education camps of communist Vietnam and Cambodia don't find their way to California today? I wouldn't be at all surprised, since they're gung-ho about reparations even though they're in the red. Anti-Semitism is also on the rise too, and you can see, some on social media glorifying the Nazis and Hitler. I mean, wasn't there a time where that would have drawn indignation or repudiation? I mean, what the hell are these parents teaching their kids? There was also a moral bent in the 20th century. And ideally, our parents back then strived to teach us the difference between right and wrong. Well, hopefully most of our parents tried, anyway. But when did morality get warped into what it is today? When did evil become the highest good of society? When did we decide to lie down and do absolutely nothing? Whatever this is, whatever we've become, is the result of a lack of discipline in the installation of rights, duties, and responsibilities. Whatever happened in the beginning, the end result isn't at all that pleasant. And as much as we can shake our heads and say, those kids have lost their minds, you also have to exonerate them in a sense. The mindset they've assumed didn't just come out of a vacuum, it had to come from somewhere. After all, if you had parents who put the fear of God in you and taught you right and wrong, sent you to school and set good examples, you wouldn't be the kind of person you'd see today. As opposed to an upbringing that is the opposite, then chances are becoming an angry SJW with no moral bearing becomes all the more likely. And really, SJW just seems like an umbrella term to include the annoying, the self-righteous, the entitled, and the dogmatic, who take their cue from the fascist playbook while decrying them simultaneously. There needs to be a societal reboot. There needs to be a cold start where we sit down and make them see what is wrong. Because they'll never figure it out on their own. And we need to do a hard examination of ourselves and wonder, what did we do wrong? And those who are starting off on the journey should see this as a cautionary tale, because in the end, this endless crusading becomes taxing and crushes you. And there's more to life than merely crusading endlessly. But that's it, isn't it? Without love, then all you have are causes, and they can be consumed to the point of losing one's soul.